Hi there and welcome back to Loopy Mabel Vintage Style. My name is Jane, and if you're new here and you love a bit of vintage and you like to sew and crochet, then this is the perfect channel for you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and then you'll be kept up to date with all the videos and the tutorials that I bring out. And obviously hello to my subscribers, thank you so much for your support, I really do appreciate it, and I love all your comments too. In today's video it's going to be a tutorial on how to make a raggy vintage style fabric brooch. Perfect for using all your scrap fabrics. You can upcycle, you can cut up your old clothes, you don't need to buy new fabric to make one, and it's so simple to make. So if you'd like me to show you how to make one, please stay tuned. This raggy vintage style brooch, all you need is some fabric. So it doesn't have to be brand new fabric. You can cut up your old clothes, you can use your fabric stash that you've got, you could go to the charity shop or anything like that, cut up a pair of old jeans, anything at all. So it's really simple to do. You need something for the brooch, for the strips to be stitched onto. So I've just used a piece of felt, but you could use anything at all. It's just for the backing for the brooch, so you can sew onto. You're also, if you're going to make it into a brooch, you're also going to need a brooch finding. This one is a little bit too small, but what I've got in my craft kit, so I'll just use it up, but probably a bigger one would be better. And obviously your fabric. So I've chosen this fabric that was in my scrap box, and it looks quite rustic and vintage, and it's a poly cotton, so this will be perfect. And obviously you can use anything at all that you like. I've also got some pins and a needle and thread and a tape measure and some scissors. So first of all, you need to cut yourself a paper template. I've got one here already, just out of paper, a circle template, 8 centimetres in diameter. And then I've wrote on here to remind me what to do next time I make my brooch. You need to cut 4 strips of fabric, and they need to measure roughly 5 centimetres by 54 centimetres long. So I've got the 4 cut here. And I've cut out my felt, as I say. So all you need to do is take your strips, and you just need to fold them in half and just finger press all the way along the strips. Like that, and then you should have like a little crease line running all the way through. Now this is the line we're going to do our gathering stitch, just a simple running stitch, and then we're going to pull the thread to make them gathered. And now you can either do this by hand with a needle and thread, or you can do it on the machine. Now if you're not familiar how to do this, I'll show you how to do it with a needle and thread, because not everybody has a sewing machine. So all you need to do is attach your yarn at one end of the strip and just do a couple of stitches just to anchor that cotton, and then you just literally insert your needle in and out, a long running stitch along that crease that you've made, and then when you get to the end, just leave a piece of cotton long enough so you can pull that thread to gather it. So don't tie it off, just leave the thread so you can pull it to gather it. I'll just work my way to the end to show you. So I'll come to the end and just leave the cotton, so just take my needle off, and I'm just going to leave that cotton, and then I'll be able to pull it. So you do that with all four strips, and then all you do is pull your thread gently so it doesn't snap to gather your strip. So you've got it gathered like so, and you do that for all 4 strips. So if you're doing it on the sewing machine, you do exactly the same, and you would set your bobbin tension to 0, and you would set your top stitch length to the maximum on your machine, and just run your sewing machine all the way along the centre of all the 4 strips, and then you just pull one of your threads exactly the same as this, so you've got all 4 gathered. I've just done the other ones on the machine, so I've done the long running stitch, and all I'm going to do is you just pull one of the threads, if you've done them on the machine, just gently pull so you don't snap the cotton, and just gather it. So just gather it now, so it's roughly about 15 centimetres, doesn't have to be exact. So there we go, we've got all 4 gathered now. The top one here is I did by hand, so you can see it's no different to the one done by machine, so don't worry if you haven't got a sewing machine, you can certainly do it just the same by hand. So now I've got them all ready. We're now going to put these strips now on to our base, and we're just going to sew them around and round and round on the base into a spiral to create the brooch. So I'm going to head on to the sewing machine now to do this section, but if you were doing it by hand, all you would do is copy what I'm doing on the sewing machine, but just stitch it by hand. So I'll see you at the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm here at my machine, and I've got my stitch settings back to normal now. All we're going to do is take our first strip and just fold it in half with wrong side facing, so you've got the right side facing out, and we're just going to attach our strip onto the edge of the circle, and we're going to work our way in a spiral effect in all the way around until we've used all our strips up and we end up in the middle. Just going to put my strip onto the edge so it just overlaps like so, and I'm just going to put my foot down and anchor with my needle, and then just get my strips ready. So just fold them over like so, and it doesn't have to be accurate because obviously it's a raggy brooch, so as long as you get your stitching onto that base circle that you've got, you should be absolutely fine. And all we're going to do is I'll just do a few stitches there to start us off, and all we're going to do is just stitch on the gathered edge just slowly, and then just rotate around, and then just keep adjusting your strips, and just make sure you're just on the edge of that circle. And just make sure that you're just catching the edge of that base circle that you've got, and just slowly rotate. Come to the end, and then you just get your next strip and just leave your needle down to anchor the fabric. Just lift your presser foot up and just insert your next strip so it overlaps what you just finished, and then put your presser foot back down, and then continue on, and as you go on to the next layer, you're just going to make sure that your next strip leaves a little bit of the previous layer showing through, and then you just keep on turning. Just make sure you get both bits of fabric. Make sure one isn't like tucked underneath, just make sure they're both showing, both edges are showing, and you can still see the layer below, so you just use that as a guide. And if you find some of your gathers come out at the end, just pull again, just to regather it. And then I'm going to add my third strip. So keep my needle down, lift my foot up, and then just tuck that next strip in. And then just literally keep on sewing round and round until you've added all 4 strips. And the space does obviously get smaller as you're going around, obviously. I'll just take my last strip now. Now you will find it's going to get really snug in there and you won't have much space left, but just keep adjusting your presser foot and just slowly turn and just literally squeeze it in. Just lift your foot. I'm just going to tuck that last tiny bit in. I'm just going to use my scissors. And there we have our raggy vintage style brooch, and I'll just show you the back. So we've gone round, you can see where we've gone round and round in the spiral. So now all we need to do is trim our ends, add our brooch finding, and we'll have our gorgeous raggy vintage style brooch. So there's the back of our brooch, and you can see the stitching. If you were going to do it by hand and you don't have a sewing machine, all you would do is do exactly the same as what I did on the sewing machine and just stitch over and over and over along the fold, and just keep on adding your strips exactly the same way, but just do it by hand, and then you'll have the exact finish as if you'd done it by machine. So obviously it's got lovely and frayed, and that's exactly how I like it, a lovely shabby chic look with the frayed edges. But if you don't like it too frayed, you can just trim off some of them. It depends how rustic you want it to look, but I like it quite rustic. And all I got to do now is add my brooch finding. As I said before, these are a little bit too small, but they'll do. I've got them in my craft box, so I'll use them up. Now I find when you do add your brooch findings, don't add it to the centre, because if you add your brooch to the centre and then you pin it on like so, it can get a little bit top heavy and end up falling forward maybe. So if you add your brooch finding to the top, so when you do pin it to your outfit, it can't get top heavy because it's already at the top. So just a little tip there. So I've just got a needle and thread. So I've got my brooch finding on, just going to secure my thread. There we go, so I've got my brooch finding on, and there we have our raggy fabric brooch. Make them in lots of colours and give them as gifts to friends, and it can be done in no time, and really are brilliant accessories to add to your clothes. You could add them to your hair as well. You could add stitch like a bobble elastic to there, and then you could add it to your hair, or maybe one of those comb slides. You could stitch your comb slide to it and slide it into your hair as a fascinator type of style. You could add it to a bag. You could obviously maybe tie, instead of putting a brooch on, you could tie a little ribbon tie on the back and then tie it to your bag. And there is your vintage style raggy brooch. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give me that lovely thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and then you'll be kept up to date with all the videos and tutorials that I bring out. Here's the one we made in the tutorial, a lovely vintage style rustic brown colour, and I'm wearing one in the blue that I've made previously, and there's another one that I made using old vintage curtain fabric. So it just shows you can upcycle anything that you've already got, and you can create something really lovely. And the more you wear it, the more shabbier and more frayed it does get along around the edges, and I think the nicer it looks. And they do make absolutely brilliant gifts as well for your friends, and take no time at all. And what a great way of upcycling and reusing all your old fabrics that you've got laying around, or maybe in your craft box. I've enjoyed making this video tutorial for you. I hope you have too. I'm now off to go and work out what my next video tutorial is going to be. If there's anything you'd like me to cover, please drop me a note in the comments box below, and I'll certainly add it to my list. But until the next time, please take care and happy sewing.